everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? As you can tell, it is not a happy day in the all-in football world, but welcome to All in Football anyway, with myself and Chris Meaney. Live on the BetsTV Network, and if you want to use the code ALLIN, 20% off at FTN, where you can check out Meaney's work. You can get all your advice for the NHL season. It's about to kick off, and get some good bets, which I'll be following, and I should probably let everybody know which ones I bet on so you don't lose those. And on top of that, if you go to theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals, it's a free month to start. And you can see me cry over there. This is why I have my sad duck t-shirt on. I put a face on Launchpad. Yeah, it's like the reflection of the tape. Like, I can't even do this. So, like, Barkley goes down. Can't even get this to work right because of the stupid reflection. It was a miserable day. The injuries yesterday, Chris, but yes, the Barkley injury, is that the one that hit you the hardest? I mean, I know we talked before the show, the betting or whatever, but it just felt, it was so devastating, the fact that he just looked like Barkley the week before. We were talking about by the end of October, and it was week 3, he looked really good. And in week 4, he looked like, hey, Barkley is back. Devastating knee injury, already back to being himself. And then just steps on a defender and rolls his ankle. As soon as I saw the replay, I thought about the time I did that playing basketball, and I was like, well, that's at least a grade 2, if not potentially worse. And he's not coming back. And I'm not a doctor, but I mean, anybody who's done that knows that. And now he's week to week. And I don't even like that, Chris. I don't even like the fact, like, I know he's like, oh, he could be back after one game, like, because he's this quick healer. And like, no, I just want him 100%, and we had him 100%, and it's so sad.
I know. I knew you'd be sad coming in here. I knew I was going to have to try to do something to cheer up my guy here. Let's cheer up Jake in the comment section. It's too bad. Yeah, betting aside, fantasy aside, you want to see Saquon healthy, because when he's healthy and he's at full health, he is one of the best in the game. And you're right. We saw it last week, and just his explosive plays. We saw a little bit of a glimpse of it against Washington there on Thursday Night Football, the long run down the sidelines. And then last week, see the tape. That's a sad face. It's a bummer. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I had the over on his rushing attempts at 13.5 plus money, which I thought I was going to get pretty easily last night. But just the way it all kind of went down, it was a fluke injury, just stepping on a guy's ankle like that. And you're right, week to week, sure.
I mean,
great healer. We've seen it before, but man.
That's right, to get out of this game, there's actually some value besides just being miserable. And now my sad microphone, which people are going to probably, if they don't tune in from the jump off, they're going to be like, what the hell is going on with
Is that
my
a
microphone?
Chargers bolt? It could be if you flipped it around.
Oh, yeah. I can see that as well. You know, holy crap, the Chargers yesterday. Yeah, I had a good time facing Justin Herbert and Mike Williams. And also with a guy who had Cortland Sutton and freaking Samaje Perine get a touchdown and everything. Like, yeah, I faced one of those teams yesterday. But with Devontae Booker, it's about 90% of the work there. The interesting thing here is, Chris, how aggressive are you going to be? Because Devontae Booker did fill in a ton, but just 2 weeks ago was a healthy and active when they used Gary Brightwell as the only backup, with obviously the fullback situation there. But on top of it, like, could be only 1 week. Are you going after Booker as an RB2? Is this basically Chuba Hubbard, but we might only get him for 1 week?
That's it. That's exactly what it is. It's like a Chuba Hubbard. You got 1 more week at a Chuba yesterday. He looked pretty good running the football, but CMC was really close, so that seems to be it for him. And, you know, if Barkley does come back here in a couple weeks, it's just a 2-week thing. I would be aggressive if it's all about context. You need a running back. You need somebody to play this week with buys happening. And
let's say you're the Barkley team.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. You have to be super aggressive.
Well, maybe, because there might be other options out there. We haven't even got to, like, holy crap, another week of injuries. Good grief. It's just the...
Yeah.
And I knew one of them, we'll get to the game, the Kansas City, I was like, this layoff at halftime, if anybody out there has ever played sports, and that layoff at halftime, and then coming out with wet turf, like, somebody is getting hurt. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was sitting there and I was actually texting with a buddy. I said, I wish we could do like baseball and just make the game up tomorrow. Like just put the halftime and just we'll play the rest of the half tomorrow, because I was like, I knew somebody was going to get hurt. And Edwards-Helaire, I mean, I didn't know it was going to be Edwards-Helaire, but he's hurt. We have to see how severe his injury is. He was limping to the locker room. At least he was limping, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. He wasn't carted. But on the stick real quick before we move off this Giants-Cowboys game, the Kadarius Toney, holy crap, all of a sudden looks like their number one wide receiver. Kenny Golladay got hurt too. Daniel Jones got hurt too. Daniel Jones is in the concussion protocol, might not be ready for this game against the Rams. That's the part about too with Devontae Booker, Chris, is it might be Mike Glennon. They are facing the Rams. Kadarius Toney, sure, and Kenny Golladay hurt, but Shepard and Slayton are supposed to come back. I mean, is there a piece of this team that you legitimately do want in Week 6?
Kadarius, I think, has earned himself at least more
Even
play.
with Slayton and Shepard coming back?
I think so, don't you? I mean, we had this exact conversation last week. We wondered what it would look like when Shepard comes back, but that performance again last week, like, don't you feel like they have to find a way to get him on the football field? I mean, Shepard is more the vet.
I know, but I think that's okay, so if they do, then the downfall is Shepard. Because Shepard's going to be pushed outside.
That's what I think. I think the way that what we've seen from Toney now in 2 straight weeks, and I mean, he had a red zone carry, he had a red zone target. Like, get this guy on the field, right?
You're in the Wildcat.
He's young. He's young. He runs great routes. He's explosive. Shepard, I don't think they're going to put Toney on the outside. He's punching. He's doing everything yesterday. But I mean, we can get to it when we talk about the Jags situation as well. But you and I have had conversations before about this scenario with Shepard, and better suited to be in the slot, and has, been underwhelming playing on the outside. Juju Smith-Schuster a couple years ago.
Let me turn this into a question for you. Then, Chris, because Shepard just went from being the most consistent option for the Giants as in a wide receiver 3/4 to, if this does happen, let's assume Golladay is in or out. He's kind of irrelevant to the conversation we're having, because if Toney is going to stay on the field, Shepard turns into Christian Kirk now, where he's playing outside, some of the slot, some mix back and forth. But now that inconsistencies now turned him into a wide receiver 4 or 5, do you basically just bench him as only a bye week option at this point?
Yeah, I think so. And for Toney,
Rams again
against the Rams, yeah. And if Toney is in the slot, like, Ramsey's going to be on him. But I mean, it's just the opportunity and the volume that you're getting here with Toney. He was one of the most added players last week, Pat, or I call you Pat. Jake. Wrong show. With Tino, when he joined, when we do roster trends on Wednesday, he was one of the most added, and I'm looking here today, and he's still widely available. But it is tricky because these guys are eventually going to come back. I think Slayton overall is the guy that you just.
Oh,
you're the
he
Giants.
Was hard. Yeah, he was barely. He's been droppable in a lot of leagues, and at this point, just kind of forget about it. Unless Galladay's out, and even again, I don't know if Mike Glennon's at quarterback going against the Rams. So real quick, I put this out there during the 4 p.m. games. I said, "Who are you taking Survivor Week 6?" It was Miami at Jacksonville, which is, by the way, we have a London game back to back. Miami at Jacksonville, Cincinnati at Detroit, the Colts at home versus Houston, and the Rams at the Giants.
I will never trust the Colts in Survivor. It's the Rams. Yeah, you don't mess around.
Do you know what you want to guess what the percentage was?
It's probably like 80.
60.
Well, yeah,
20% actually went on Cincinnati at Detroit.
Yeah, I was. I've just,
at Detroit though. Oh, they almost pulled the Vikings one. That was going to knock out a lot of people.
I've just been taking the favorites, and I'm not trying to overthink it. People had New England yesterday. People had Minnesota yesterday, and they both survived. Me too.
I know. I was so annoyed.
And I'm just rolling with them. But
Here,
I'm annoyed as well.
On the Dallas side, so there's a 2-part question here, and 2 different. Zeke good, Cooper good, Lamb good. This reminds me of Friends. Yes. Meat good, jam good.
What's not to like?
What's not to like?
Custard
Thank
good.
you. This is why I like doing a show with you. So anyway, Friends thing aside, Tony Pollard. Is he now Kareem Hunt, as in you can just go ahead and start him every single week without the touchdowns that Kareem Hunt's been every single week? By the way, I had that prop yesterday, and that ruined it. What Chris and I were talking about before the show is that Saquon Barkley killed like a bunch of our parlays, unfortunately. But I did have the Kareem Hunt for anytime touchdown because it's like, hey, he just keeps scoring every single week. But is Tony Pollard in that vein now where you're starting Pollard as a fringe RB2, and is Dalton Schultz now a must-start tight end?
Dalton Schultz he's a must start. I had him ranked as both him and Dawson Knox as top 8 tight ends this week, and it felt really weird to do. It did. But I think you trust these offenses, and you know that they're going to be players inside the red zone, and they're both looking good in terms of Buffalo and Dallas. So Tony Pollard, it's 4 straight weeks now where he's had double-digit carries, and they're blowing teams out. They got New England, Minnesota, Denver, Atlanta, KC clearly can't stop a nosebleed, and Las Vegas. So they're going to score points. They're going to be up in games. Tony Pollard's probably going to be a guy that touches the ball at least 8 times. Where did that saying
come from? Those are actually kind of hard to stop sometimes.
No idea. Yeah, they are. They just kind of gush in blood. And if we were talking about the Chiefs for a moment with that weather delay, they're probably better off just to say, you know what, guys, Buffalo, we'll chalk this up as a W. You win the game. We don't need to play the second half. And they were having Travis Kelce out there late. Oh my goodness.
You just pulled the conversation over. Let's talk about that game. So the CEH injury, and we don't know if he misses time. This is easy, Darrell Williams, or do you think that Jerick McKinnon is going to be involved where it'll kind of be a not 50-50, maybe like a 60-40. Darrell Williams RB2 and not close to an RB1, and Jerick McKinnon usable and flex?
Yeah, I think so. The schedule does turn a little bit easier. I wasn't over-exaggerating. This defense is pathetic. They've allowed at least 29 points
no question about it.
In every game. But I'm looking ahead.
Boot it. What the hell?
Who did? I didn't.
I did.
You did. I didn't hear it.
I had a tongue slip. By the way, everybody, for Monday, happy Canadian Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yes,
I wish I had a Canadian flag to fly for you.
You thought about that when you said a boot it.
I did.
No doubt to boot
continue
it.
not
no
to cut you.
Boot it.
Continue.
Can we clip that? I need to hear it in live action. I look ahead at the schedule. So there are actually some games that they can control, maybe. Washington, Tennessee, the Giants. So those 3 games feel like, maybe Darrell Williams is a guy that will probably get majority of the snaps and touches. But when they get into maybe a game like Green Bay, depending on how long CEH is out, I mean, if he's out a few weeks here, a game against Green Bay, a game against Dallas, like McKinnon may be that guy in a full point. But I think Darrell Williams, I think he's the ad. I think he's the guy who's going to get more touches.
Okay, there you go.
Chiefs stink though, eh? Defensively?
Wow, the player is terrible. Trying to get that there. You have to hold it almost to the ceiling. There you go. Canadian Thanksgiving. On the Bills side, you brought up Dawson Knox. Is he now a must start?
Yes. I don't have any other analysis besides that. Like last week we said he's always open. Remember when we said that?
I know.
Why is he always open?
It doesn't get covered.
The exact same thing happened yesterday twice. He's wide open.
Well, here's where I was going to go with this too. Is like Dawson Knox the easy one. This is where I'm going to kind of take the next step with this offense, and I'm going to save the one that I'm going to grit my teeth to say, but. One is Beasley now droppable because his snaps have been going down as Emmanuel Sanders and Dawson Knox have been remarkably consistent. So are you dropping Cole Beasley or are you still hesitant to do so? I mean, the biggest problem here, again, is the snaps are going down. That's the concern I have.
Yeah, I have the same concern. I would like to see Gabriel Davis get a little bit more play in this offense. There's just so much going around. Both backs are playing really good. They're running the football really well.
That's the next part.
They're catching balls out of the backfield. Yeah, I would.
Put it this
Beasley's only a...
I was going to say, Curtis Samuel, Cole Beasley, Sterling Shepard. How you rank them now?
Yikes.
Yeah. Well, they're all in dicey situations.
Probably.
Curtis Samuel. What is Washington doing rolling out Curtis Samuel this week?
He may be done for the year. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean,
he's last?
He's last. Groin popped up, left the game. I'm seeing that he could be on IR, which again I don't know. That's like half the season at lost right there. So
well, I thought is it the second time on the IR is done? Because he was already on it to start.
Of that. He was on it to start. So yeah,
right, so Samuel's last with Shepard or Beasley. Who do you want to hold on to?
Shepard. I take Shepard. Okay. I mean, Beasley's just a guy in a full point league. You just play him in flex and you hope he gets you 8 to 12 points.
All right. So this is what I was going to say with the running back question. They're not just both playing well. Zach Moss is playing great, and Zach Moss is being used in the receiving game. Are we ready to say we can trust? That's the word. Trust Zach Moss. This is now 3 straight really good weeks.
It is. Yeah, he's been great since missing week 1. He's been getting a lot of usage in the red zone. I think so.
Missing? I mean, he was healthy too, by the way.
Yeah.
They made him inactive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely a flex. I don't know where you had him ranked, but he was mid-20s for me. I'd like the spot against the Chiefs. Figure they're going to
I
score
had him a little bit
points.
lower just because I refused to trust Zach Moss,
Which is
because the
fair.
split with Devin Singletary. And basically, my thought process was if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's like an RB3. But the fact is that, again, they're using him. He got more work in the passing game than Singletary did. And if that's the case, that I think we could trust. Yeah, I'm in 32. I'm 100% wrong on that one. No problem with that one. And I'm behind Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon, my goodness. We can get into that in a bit. But
We
look
will.
at the schedule. I just want to look. I mean, the Bills, oh my goodness, man. The Bills, 35 points, 43 points, 40 points, 38
the
points. They
schedule's
play
easy as
Tennessee
hell,
this
too.
week. Miami, Jacksonville, the Jets, Indy. Those are 5 unbelievable matchups where the Bills are going to be up and they're going to be running the ball and giving the ball to both these guys. And you see it. When you say trust, I think of Josh Allen in the first drive where all he did was run the ball up the field and then call his own number and score the rushing touchdown. That's what you get with this Bills offense a bit. But Zach Moss, as long as he gets double-digit touches inside this offense, he's a low-end RB2.
We're spending all the time on the 4 o'clock games. Here, let's go to San Francisco and Arizona. I brought up Trey Sermon. So here's, look, I said to everybody, they were like, why do you have Sermon slightly in front of Elijah Mitchell? I had them both in the 30s. 20, well, maybe low 20s, high 30s, somewhere right around there, right around 30, but I still had Sermon in there. And it was like, hey, look, I watched all of week 4. I saw that he looked great in the second half with Trey Lance. We've talked about it on this show many times before. He ran with a quarterback not under center in college. So all that being said is, like, look how much better he looked. Now you have a good timeshare on your hands. And that's where I was going with it. And I always prefaced it with, if you don't want to trust Shanahan, you don't have to trust me. Shouldn't have trusted me. Hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you told me I was an idiot and just said, screw you, Jake. I'm going to do my own thing, because Sermon got 1 touch, barely on the field the entire game. 100% back to Elijah Mitchell. Again, I would have said that was the case. Actually, I did say that was the case about Jimmy Garoppolo. I said, like, when Jimmy Garoppolo's back at quarterback, should be a lot of Elijah Mitchell, and maybe we see a little bit of Sermon. But I thought it would be at least a 50-50 split, Chris. And I set this up to say, by what just happened yesterday, for anybody that was fooled like myself and thinking Sermon was going to get more of an opportunity, did we just see that now Shanahan is trustable because he's using Elijah Mitchell, or because they're headed into a bye, and guess who's eligible to return after that bye is Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, right when you think that you could trust Shanahan, he's going to throw you for a loop, and we'll see Jeff Wilson in there, who's a back that he likes. I've heard him talk him up before about how he's a great pass blocker, and they trust him inside the red zone. A couple years ago, it was like a lot of Raheem Mostert.
So you're selling Elijah Mitchell?
Wilson. Probably, yeah. I would sell him. I'd put him in the sell high conversation because it's honestly a crapshoot. You got the bye week coming. Trey Lance ran the ball 16 times himself. Man, it's clear they don't like Trey Sermon. They just don't. It took multiple injuries. To play him, first of all.
I could understand it if he looked terrible, but again, I set up everything to say, like, he looked like
he looked
the week
great
3
last week.
had a couple good runs in week 3. Wasn't a great showing overall, but a couple good. But again, that's with Garoppolo. Last week, now last week. Yesterday, still not last week yet, but last week, okay, again, another okay showing, and then Lance comes in. He looks great. Looks like the prospect they drafted in the 3rd round and moved up to get.
And Mitchell's the guy that they drafted in the 6th. It's crazy how they seem to be. I would like to hear what they're thinking right now. Like, oh man, we really.
I think we need to know what he's thinking about that and Ayuk. Are we done with Ayuk? Because put him in the list with Beasley. Is he behind? He's down with Samuel, right?
Yeah, there's no point of wasting around here. Like, he's not even getting on the field a ton. And that was a game yesterday where they were behind the entire time, and Kittle wasn't playing. Like, so there's no real play for Ayuk. It's pretty mind-boggling. But yeah, I mean, Trey Sermon is a guy too. I think you just move on from him as well. I don't know. Deeper leagues, you hold him, I guess, in case other injuries happen. But they don't like him. Well, that's why somebody asked me that. I said, it's safe to drop Trey Sermon. I was like, okay, I understand the bye, and I understand Jeff Wilson's back, but it's nice to have one injury, he's back to being an RB2. And like, I get 100%. Now I'm with you. He's
irrelevant if everybody's healthy. But I put him in the same conversation as like it's AJ Dillon, maybe to a lesser degree because AJ Dillon sometimes gets touches like he did this week. What the freaking hell? And as we can transition to that game, the best part about that game, Chris, it wasn't AJ Dillon. It wasn't Aaron Jones. It wasn't Joe Mixon playing not healthy and, still scoring a touchdown and saving the day of everybody who had Joe Mixon. It wasn't Joe Burrow being Joe Burrow, as amazing as Joe Burrow was. You know what it was, Chris, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was ban effing kickers to the utmost degree. Yesterday was the most glorious day. The only reason I'm still smiling today, the only reason I'm not walking around and not on this show right now and just not, doing the mopey down the street, sad panda, I don't want to talk to anybody, is because it was the most glorious band kickers day in the history forever, especially in this game alone.
Oh my goodness, what was happening in that game? How about McPherson when he thought that he made the kick and he's like celebrating another walk-off for the Rook, and he just hit the flag. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, oh, I hit the flag, I'm good to go.
Maybe he thought he hit like over it because if it goes over, it's in.
Maybe. That was wild. I just wanted both teams to lose and to tie because they couldn't get it done with the kickers. I wanted more missed kicks. I mean, yesterday, you're seeing it week in and week out. I know you've had this thing now for a few years. You and I, when, doing shows together, it was always ban kickers for you. Why go for two? Or why kick the extra point, go for two? I feel like kickers need to practice more because they're worse than they've ever been. Last year, I don't have the time actually to dig into the missed kicks, but I think we're going to set a record this year.
I asked somebody, I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go through Pro Football Reference and like dig and dig and dig because somebody, I forgot what account tweeted it. There's an account that tweeted yesterday was the most missed extra points since 1970. And I was like, why 1970? Did it actually happen more? Like they said since 1970. I was like, what happened in 1970? I need to know. Like I'm super curious now.
Yeah, just everyone hitting uprights, I guess, that year.
I'm so curious what happened in 1970 now. But in any case, two things. There's a good and a bad out of this game. Potentially a bad. The bad was Aaron Jones snaps. Are we concerned about Aaron Jones now? I should say, are you concerned about Aaron Jones? Because I get hate every single year because I've never been the Aaron Jones guy. So I don't want this to come from me because people will be like, you're just, you've never liked Aaron Jones, blah, 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 blah. Despite the fact I always say he's one of the most efficient and best runners on a per touch basis. But I always emphasize the per touch part. It's like, this is why I don't ever roster and have never rostered Aaron Jones.
Yeah, because last year it was Jamal, and now this year it's AJ Dillon, and Dillon looks good, man. The past couple weeks he's looked pretty strong, and he's running routes and getting targets, like 4 targets. Like this is a guy that I thought would be the back of the future, and then they extended Aaron Jones in the offseason, so I thought maybe there'd be a little bit more run with him. He's very touchdown dependent, as good as he is when he's a runner, and he's a great receiver. He's a really good player, but you're right, it's not like. Out of all the top backs that go in drafts, like he's not one of the guys that flirts with like 90% of the snaps or 80% of the touches. Clearly, they like AJ Dillon. Didn't they draft him in the second round a couple years ago? He's an absolute beast. And this is looking closer to a bit of not a split, but closer to maybe a 60-40.
Then put it this way. Who would you rather going forward, Aaron Jones or Joe Mixon? Joe Mixon in his first game back, he didn't really miss time. But with the ankle sprain that didn't practice the entire week, and then goes out there the entire game almost, all Joe Mixon teams are like, oh my God, he's not healthy. They fooled us all. And then he makes an amazing cut. Looks 100% towards the end of the game, gets the touchdown, saves the day. But that being said, Joe Mixon or Aaron Jones going forward, which would you rather if it was your team?
Aaron Jones. I think I trust him a little bit more. It's not a great
because of the injury.
Me and Jake. Yeah, I mean, there's always seems to be something with Mixon. Unfortunately, like if that's the analysis, you gave me that situation with the two guys. I'll pick what I think is the better offense and Aaron Jones. Who
are they both RB1s? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a question.
All right, how about this?
Jones is a RB1.
We'll do another mini rank for you here.
Okay.
Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson.
Gibson's last. Gibson's
Okay.
last for me.
I
on that
just
list.
was kind of curious because I think, for differing reasons, I think they're kind of in that that's where they were drafted. That's still where they're producing as back end RB1s, high end RB2s, just right on like that turn, quote unquote, of running backs. All right, real quick before we get away from the Bengals, Boyd out again. That's as simple as that. T. Higgins is back and he's the odd man out.
Yeah, it seems like it, unfortunately, because he's a really good player.
How about, was it fun for 1 week of Randall Cobb, and now we're back to, or it's just Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, the end. By the way, Robert Tonyan, if you didn't drop him 2 weeks ago, if you didn't drop him last week, please just drop him this week. Please, I don't even know what we're hanging on for here.
Dude, his receiving yard prop was 37.5. 37.5 for a guy who had 8 or fewer receiving yards in 3 of his first 4. And yesterday, I think he had another game with 8 or 9. Yeah, I don't get the Tonyan thing. Yeah, cut him. Drop him. There's other tight ends that we're going to talk about, we'll throw out there that I would rather roll out than Robert Tonyan.
All right, fair enough. Alex asked, would you go A.J. Dillon or Tony Pollard? Tony Pollard, right?
Yeah, Tony Pollard.
Yeah, especially because
these are both flex guys.
Well, I mean, but more standalone value and more value if both leads go down.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what
but man, if Zeke and Jones went away, like we'd be really liking Dillon and Tony Pollard. I mean, Tony Pollard looks really
hell
good.
ago. Higgins or Pittman from Daryl. Higgins or Pittman at a full point PPR rest of the season. I'm Higgins.
Yeah, I'm Higgins too, but Pittman I think he's got 60% of his team's air yards over the last 3 weeks. I think 12 targets, 12 targets. I think he's like 34 targets.
I'm not that worried, but T.Y. Hilton is coming back.
Yeah, that's true.
Or eligible. I mean, we don't know for 100% whether or not he's coming back, but he's...
Take the better offense, better quarterback. Although Joe Burrow had to check into the hospital yesterday for something to do with his throat.
His neck. Freaking like... Yeah.
That was a vicious hit.
He got you like a throat punch or something. Like I the first time I read it, I thought it said lacerated neck, and I was like, "What the hell happened to him?"
Wow.
But it wasn't. No, it was like something. Yeah, it was internal. Like he got that shot. Something in his neck that he had to get checked out. Detroit and Minnesota. Speaking of tight ends, and I do want to get to this because we got a nice little. Oh, that was a short one. There we go.
Oh, nice.
That's for T.J. Hockenson. Chris, this is not victory lapping because I had T.J. Hockenson still inside. He was my 5th tight end, I think, to start the season. My concerns of why I have 0 T.J. Hockenson was what I said. Again, I had him 5th. It wasn't like I pushed him that low. This is still, it can be both. I had my concerns. I didn't think it would be this bad, is what I'm saying. T.J. Hockenson, I said, could get taken away because who are you going to take away? You're going to take away T.J. Hockenson in an offense led by Jared Goff. It's been miserable. How concerned on I usually do this with tomorrow's show with Lauren because I do my ducks in my article. 1 to 5 ducks. How many ducks are you giving T.J. Hockenson on your Warrior scale?
You better give him 3, and I think you can think about giving him 4 ducks. Yeah.
Oh, when you're thinking about it, that's an egg, by the way. You're about to birth another duck, so it's like you're giving him 3 ducks and an egg. Or is that what you're giving him?
Yeah, that's what I'm giving him. We had this exact same conversation last week. We said it. I mean, rewind the tape. We said we were concerned that teams were going to focus in on T.J. Hockenson, and why wouldn't they? Like, that would be, if I was a game planner going against the Detroit Lions, it would be like, okay, this Swift guy's pretty good. Watch him out of the backfield. And then T.J. Hockenson. Let Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond or Quintez Cephas, who left with an injury, let these guys beat us. That's it. T.J. Hockenson, when I did, and it's way too early to do the rest of the season rankings, but I was kind of jotting some notes last week, and I had Pitts and Andrews ahead of him. And I honestly, Jake, was thinking about Schultz and Knox ahead of him, and I was thinking, I don't think I can do it yet. But now, it's it. No question for me.
If Logan Thomas was healthy, you could put him in the conversation. Noah Fant, maybe.
Yes.
I mean, put it this way. What's the difference between his former teammate? What's the difference between Hockenson and Fant right now?
I don't know. Not much.
Nothing. That's really, I think we're at. And that's a huge disappointment so let me turn it this way then. In trades, would you try to buy low on Hockenson?
I don't think so. I wouldn't trade Schultz or Knox. I just wouldn't trade these guys that you can pick up off the waiver. So I don't know what kind of move you're doing.
I'm trying to think of a wide receiver that's kind of wide receiver 3 performance that isn't necessarily a wide receiver 3. I was going to say Tim Patrick, but Tim Patrick, would you trade Tim Patrick for Hockenson? You would do that, right? You just
I like Tim
grimaced.
Patrick.
Like you're like,
I like
would
Tim
you?
Patrick. I don't know. He's okay. He's great. I think
I'm going to that
there's
game
a little
next
bit of
because we
higher
have a
ceiling.
request in here, but we are going to that game next. Adam Thielen, touchdown dependent, just another fart noise this week. It wasn't terrible, but this is just what you get with Adam Thielen. Put it this way. Here's another one. What's the difference between Tyler Lockett and Adam Thielen? These kind of games just happen with them.
They do, yeah. There's blow up games, and Lockett could be in for. I mean, if I was a Lockett owner, I'd be a little nervous with Geno here over the next few weeks. I think DK will be fine, but Lockett I'm a little concerned with. But yeah,
both terrible quarterbacks. Both in that I could go out and score 80 and 2 touchdowns, and the next week get 34 yards. That's who these guys are.
That was an underwhelming performance by Minnesota yesterday. I thought we'd see a little bit more from
Detroit.
Justin Jefferson's fine, but Kirk
You know
Cousins
who
was the
wasn't?
guy
Oh,
that I
hold
had
on.
ranked
You
as
know
a
who
top
wasn't
12 quarterback.
underwhelming? Alexander Madison. That guy was not
That guy's
underwhelming.
Awesome.
The last question for this game: does his performance 2 weeks in a row worry you about Dalvin Cook now?
I mean, he deserves touches, but Cook is so good too, and he's healthy.
Right. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't think so. But man, isn't he the best handcuff in the NFL? Like, he is just so great. I never get to draft Cook. I don't know what it is. I just don't.
We should
Sometimes
name
luck
the
of the
show
draw, I
either
never
or
get to go early.
because
Yeah, we should either or.
Zeke or Dalvin Cook.
Zeke. Yes. I thought about it too long. Zeke.
Kamara or Dalvin Cook.
Kamara.
Oh.
Hey, at least he got some targets. Caught some
No.
passes to
But
the
I mean,
back. That was
Dalvin Cook
nice.
was pretty much consensus number 2.
2. You're right. And now we're thinking about him as a 5 or 6 because he's not healthy. There's been a couple of times that injuries have popped up with him numerous times. That's why we see Alexander Madison. That's why he's one of the best handcuffs in the league because he's a stud when he plays.
I tell you
multiple
today,
times.
Chris Meaney. I tell you today.
Yes.
I tell you, Dalvin Cook is back in week 6. Saquon Barkley is out for 2 games, but 100% when he comes back. Dalvin Cook or Saquon Barkley?
Saquon. I'll just.
But I mean, that's what. And so, I think the concern of like Madison is just that he ticks out that. I mean, we're talking about Dalvin Cook was one of 4 or 5 running backs in that 80% plus every single week.
Yeah,
and I think
if you're Minnesota, Jake, what are you doing? Why would you roll out?
that's where I'm going with this
Like
is
that.
because now Dalvin Cook falls down into the 70%, which is still great for a lot of running backs.
Sure.
But Dalvin Cook at 70%, I mean, a lot of his 100-yard rushing days come with like 20 touches. Like, there are days where Dalvin Cook, as great as he is getting there only because of volume. I'm not saying he's a volume running back by any stretch of the imagination, to be clear, people. I'm just saying some of those days are because of that. That's what happens. This is why we like Zeke and Barkley and CMC, because even when they're having a 3.5 rushing day and it's off, the volume still gets them there because of that. So that's why I think that it's a concerning situation going forward. All right. I was going to this game next anyway, but we did have a question. Well, we had a request. So I kind of have to turn this upside down, Chris, because now I have to put a smiley face here because we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos. And Cortland Sutton, I'll be right back. Yay! Victory lap! Victory lap! Yay! We got a request in the chat. For a victory lap.
Nice. For a
On the
victory
Cortland
lap.
Sutton victory
Yeah.
lap. I have been hammering the fact of the unrealized air yards as Barkley looks at me with the weirdest face I've probably ever seen. Cortland Sutton, the unrealized air yards that I was hitting. You're welcome, Alex. That was the victory lap for Cortland Sutton. I will say this, though, Chris. Cortland Sutton, let me phrase it this way for you. Are you buying in, or do you immediately try to sell high just because of this offense's inconsistencies in its own right?
Yeah, that's a great question because he's had 2
Giant
I say
games.
tournament. Yeah, there's 2 performances that he's had where if he's on your squad, then you're like, yeah, I won the week because Cortland Sutton. And then there's other ones where you're like, yeah, I lost the week because he was 1 for 14 and 5 for 37 and 3 for 47. I think I'd buy in. These games are going to continue. It's nice that Teddy Bridgewater returned. He's obviously more accurate, that he can catch some of these air yards that he's getting. I've noticed a really high ADOT with him, which is very similar to what Jerry Jeudy had last year. So maybe that's part of it. Like when your ADOT is so high, I mean, you're not going to be able to reel in all of these targets, especially if there's poor quarterback play. But ultimately, we're in the business for volume, opportunity, air yards, all those things. He checks the boxes
that's why
there, so I'd keep him.
I have a slight concern because Jerry Jeudy can return. Now,
Yep.
that's the thing. Until Jerry Jeudy comes back, I think that top 20, 25 of Sutton is where I have been. Judy, just because of this offense and the fact that I think Tim Patrick was out there even a little bit more just because of the game plan there than Sutton was. And it's not like Tim Patrick's just going to be like kicked into irrelevancy. I mean, for fantasy purposes, it'd be tough to use him with Jerry Judy back. But when you have 3 options now, so I love some Sutton, but at the same time, this is how you can ride the roller coaster of Damian Harris is the perfect example. Is buy Damian Harris, sell Damian Harris, buy Damian Harris, sell Damian. Like this is you play the market. So I am on Sutton, but if somebody's going to treat him as a top 20 wide receiver, I would sell. But I think a lot of people don't probably give that. Here's one: Sutton or Godwin rest of the season. Godwin, right?
Yeah, Godwin. Yeah.
And I think, but that's the thing. It's like Godwin's kind of like. I love the fact that Tom Brady is being the most Tom Brady ever yesterday and saying, you know what, we're up by 21. I'm going to still throw another touchdown. Did you know this, Chris? By the way, the Athletic account tweeted this out. I was shocked because not the fact of Tom Brady's greatness, but Tom Brady's greatness on fact of how long he's played. That was his first 400-yard, 5-touchdown game of his career.
I know, it's unbelievable. I heard Chris Rose say that I was watching FTN Network last night. I was like, wait, what? But then this is like, just think of Tom Brady all those years and just the guys that he was throwing the football to. I mean, 1 year with Randy Moss, and people got excited about Welker and Edelman, but he is just set up in this offense, and they are throwing the football, and they don't care. They don't care about blowing. They'll blow out teams by 40 points. They just don't care. So, yeah, 5 touchdowns and 400 yards for Brady. Man, I can't believe what he's doing at this age. Like, he looks awesome.
Ridiculous. Like, he feels like he's even better than he was last year.
Better than he's ever been.
Juju Smith-Schuster injury sounds like it might be the rest of the season, which is just great for the Claypool value. Unfortunate for Juju Smith-Schuster. Keep monitoring on that one. Before we get out of this game and get to the Tom Brady game, is the backfield. Javonte Williams, another game looking better. It's been a slow process, but where are we with Williams going forward? Would you put him inside your top? Would you put him in as an RB2 rest of the season? And if you could get top 20 running back value for him because somebody's buying into what Javonte Williams could be, would you get out of it just because until Melvin Gordon is officially out of the picture, it's still just going to be frustrating? I know that's kind of like two different sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Well, both you and I are big on Williams. We like the talent. We've been waiting for this. So I still like him. I'm not going to change from that standpoint. Melvin Gordon is in the way, but you're right. It just seems like it's getting a little bit tighter in terms of just like targets and carries. 9 carries for Gordon, 8 for Williams yesterday, and Williams finally had a game with more targets than him. That's something that I don't think we've seen yet. But if there's somebody out there that likes Williams more than us, like if anyone came calling to me with Javonte Williams, I'd be like, sure, if you really want this guy, I would move on. But I think maybe he may only just be a flex guy, which is unfortunate. I mean, Gordon is hardly practiced over the past couple weeks with the leg injury.
He still keeps getting out there.
They're
not going away from Gordon. That's the biggest thing. No. See, I woke up Barkley with that victory lap. That's all your fault, Alex. Should have saved it for the end. He's all excited now. The Tampa Bay game. I don't even want to talk about the Tampa Bay side first. I'm going to talk about Myles Gaskin finishing as a top 10 running back this week, potentially top 5. Is it one game, or are we back to going with Gaskin as the lead, or like what are we doing here with Myles Gaskin? You're already shaking your head no.
I don't think you can trust Miami. I mean, I think it's just I don't know. I think it's just they played the Bucs. You can't run on them, and you're playing from behind and you're catching balls out of the backfield. That's kind of it, right? If you look at the Bucs schedule, you just look at these running backs that are going to be getting down on the field in third down roll, and I guess you can kind of upgrade them a little bit for the week, but he still only had 5 carries. He had 2 carries a week before that. He had 5 against the Bills. Oh, they play the Jags this week. Maybe he gets 10
but that's
carries.
the thing is, I'm with you in the fact they even mentioned it before the game. They said we want to get him more involved in the passing game because we know what the Bucs present us. So Jacksonville, Atlanta, Buffalo again, Houston, Baltimore. There's maybe 1 or 2 matchups in there where you could say could have to pass more, but because they're more running games, I'm not buying in that Gaskin's back. That's the thing. It's like it's going to be more of a split with Ahmed and Brown again.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Yeah, Jacksonville, Atlanta, those are games they can control. Buffalo, maybe that's a game where you can roll Gaskin out as a flex. Baltimore, maybe. But there's a lot of controllable games, even though Miami's not playing great. I mean, they've lost 4 straight. But Jacksonville, Atlanta, Houston, Jets, those are games that I guess he could get some carries, but You can't trust it.
No, you can't. And I completely agree with the sentiment. I'm guessing that's Benny. Why throw the ball to the 6th overall pick when you can throw it to Myles Gaskin instead? Yes. Oh, you mean that prop on the Jalen Waddle receptions that I lost as well? Here's another one. Never thought I would ask this, Chris, this entire year. I said could never do it last year. Might be able to do it this year. Are we finally ready to not only trust Zach Moss, but are we trusting Leonard Fournette?
Yes. Yes. I've always wanted to trust him. I've always wanted to trust Leonard Fournette, but it's Bruce Arians, man. It's Bruce Arians, but Ronald Jones is a complete afterthought. Giovanni Bernard, we said this on the show that don't draft Giovanni Bernard. There's going to be maybe 1 or 2 games where the Bucs are trailing all season, and then Gio's going to get the play, but he's never going to be a red zone guy. Like, he's never going to be a guy that's like, okay, here you go, Brady. Brady's going to hand it off to Gio, and he's going to run it in. And Brady just throws the ball so much anyways, it doesn't matter. These are 2 straight very solid weeks. I mean, 2 weeks ago against the Pats, he had 25 opportunities, 5 targets for grabs and 20 carries. Yesterday, he has a rushing touchdown and 5 targets. So he has at least 3 catches in every game, and he's had at least 4 targets in every one but one. So not only is he getting a bulk of the carries on the ground, now the Bucs are still playing quicker than most teams and throwing more than anybody, but he's still the lead. If they blow out teams, he can get some red zone touches. And he's catching balls, man. He's catching 3 or 4 balls week in and week out. That's the biggest thing that I'm encouraged about.
All right, so rapid fire before we get out of here. The show's going to be a little trimmed up going forward. We are going to be live in Chris's hometown area of Canada up there, so maybe I will have to get a flag. Yeah, live an anthem. The early game, the London game, is what we all woke up for. We have to wake up for again. Cordell Patterson, great again. Kyle Pitts finally has his big game. And then Michael Carter, pretty good. And then wide receivers after Corey Davis, though, pretty bad. Nothing to really go for over there. Any big takeaway from this game? The reminder, Falcons are on a bye. So we get that Patterson Pitts, and then we have to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Calvin Ridley. Hopefully everything is good in his personal life. But, yeah, it was nice to see Pitts. You needed to see it. This was the game. For me, there was no excuses. He needed to show up in this game.
If I saw one more tweet on Sunday morning of, if he doesn't do it today, he's never going to do it. Like, you're not the only person thinking and saying this. Oh, my God.
I know. And also relax. He's still like a young player in the league. And, you know, Atlanta's figuring out how to really utilize his strength. But he got a lot of targets. He showed up in a game that he needed to show up in. And all of a sudden, I don't know the numbers, but he was 10-19 heading into last week. He's probably tight end 6 or 7 with that performance. That was all I needed to see. Ty Johnson came in and stole a red zone rushing attempt from Carter, which ticked me off, but at least Carter got a touchdown later on. He's
did get his own
guy to own.
Saints are also on a bye, and Michael Thomas is eligible to return afterwards. Does that just say that was Callaway and Harris were kind of fun, but zero interest in Callaway or Harris?
You know, I think Callaway, maybe he'll get softer coverage potentially. Maybe they'll take some deep shots, but still a team that wants to run the football quite a bit. So excited for Thomas. Hopefully he comes back and
is Traquan ever coming back?
The ball. I think he's expected back too after the bye.
You doing Ricky Seals-Jones if you need tight end help?
Why not? Especially if Curtis Samuel's going to be out for some time. Diami Brown left yesterday too. That's another tight end. Like, it feels weird to drop a Tanyan for Ricky Seals-Jones. Like, I'd rather go to a Knox.
I would drop Tanyan for a million people.
Yeah, if
I would drop Tanyan for Tommy Tremble at this point. And Tremble could be a 0 or a 12, like a legit 0, because he just was last week. I'd rather just chase something like that. All right, so Tennessee, Jacksonville. I don't understand the panic meter on A.J. Brown, but if that's out there, we're buying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I would buy LaVisca too.
That's where we're going, so let's talk about Jacksonville. James Robinson looks great again. Marvin Jones struggled a little bit. Could have had a touchdown, but it's just bad placement on that. Dan Arnold, if the touchdown did not go to him, although a lot of us were expecting it. But that is the biggest takeaway from this game is Laviska Shenault. You said you're buying low. I'm not, Chris. I jokingly put this out there yesterday. I said, Kristen Michael or Laviska Shenault? Who do you want? But no, see, you understood why I said it. Is because we as the fantasy community are trying to make him a thing. I did not think he'd be left out to this degree. I said the third receiver, I'm very concerned, just like Rondell Moore. But the fact is you need to be on the field. They are down DJ Shark. and they still did not get him on the field. He had that one giant play, which that's why we want him on the field. That's why we want more for Shenault, because he's that damn good. But if they're not putting him out there, and they just signed Anthony Miller.
Did they? Did
yes.
I miss that?
And this is what I'm saying. It's like, this is Shanahan. I just don't think they want to use Shenault more.
Interesting. So he's going to play in the slot. I actually picked him up in a deeper format with Tino Miller, that is, because I thought he looked okay in that Texans game in the slot. I was like, oh, this guy's going to have a role. Like, maybe there's going to be thrown to somebody else besides Cook.
Another team that doesn't make sense. The Texans are like, we don't need him because of the slot option, and then Danny Amendola is inactive. Then why did you cut Anthony? Like,
Weird.
These teams just don't make sense. So Shenault, are you really? Yeah. I mean, what are you buying low for? Are you buying low for Tim Patrick? Tim Patrick or Shenault? I'm taking Patrick.
I think I would take Shenault there, but yeah, you bring up good points. I mean, the fantasy community does love this guy. He's a fantasy darling for doing very little over the course of his NFL career.
He's very
People
talented.
seem to love him. Yeah, he is very talented. I mean, they've turned to a run-heavy offense over the past couple weeks, Jacksonville, and what we talked about before with guys like Shepard, same thing. Shepard slot, move outside. Juju slot, move outside, struggles. Laviska Shenault may just struggle on the outside. He basically played in the slot all last year in every game to start this season. But I noticed like his ADOT had changed. He has 6.9 ADOT in the first 4 weeks of the season, and that was with a 14.4 just last week. So you could imagine what his ADOT was over the first couple weeks. So definitely, if he's lucky. So, I get it. But I just, like you said, it's like a roller coaster ride. People probably really sour. They expected a lot from him. If you could get him as a flex, I don't know. I think I'm into that.
Yeah, so real quick, the report for Justin, Juju is not already out for the season. They put him on IR and expect him to be out for the season, but it's not official yet. I mean, it sounds like it could be, but the official word is not out there yet. The only official word is he's on the IR already. So, again, points potentially that way. Before we get out of here, Chris, I'm going to throw one game at you and ask you who you're more concerned for, Brandon Cooks or Damian Harris out of that game?
Damian Harris. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
even though he looked good before getting banged up?
He looked great. I mean, another fumble, right? I thought that was a touchdown, to be honest with you, but another fumble. I don't know. Like, he suffered the injury. Pat stink, playing from behind. Bolden looked okay, got touches, caught passes. I don't know. I just can't trust Harris. I want him.
All right, so Brandon Cooks, you're okay? I mean, Davis Mills goes ham and ignores Brandon
really
Cooks.
What was that all about? But
Brandon Cooks.
He's fine. I think he's fine. Yeah, Mills looked pretty good, right?
All right, last one, and we'll get out of here on this. The Las Vegas Raiders offense goes, and, here you go. I can tell you what they did. They went, that was an airy one. I mean, it's one-off week for the Raiders. I don't expect it to be the common thing going forward. On the flip side of the ball, though, this is just, you want to talk about that. I should do that like 17 times for the Chicago offense outside of the run game. Damian Williams looks good, but almost a complete split with Khalil Herbert. And again, this is another one where I said, go grab Herbert, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. As this Dame and Herbert both have value, and now A-Rob, Mooney in the passing game is just, and make it 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy Allen Robinson. My tune has changed. They just don't throw the football enough. They want to run the rock. That's it. It's just the name of the game. And I was surprised too. Herbert got more snaps than him. Damian came in and stole a red zone touch. I thought he'd be the veteran back that they would lean on in this game, but Herbert looked good running the football. They want to run the rock. It's going to be a split moving forward until Montgomery comes back.
Sell high, Damian Williams. Great.
Yes,
this is where we can go crazy, buy him, pick him up immediately. You can never have too many running backs until you can see the sell window come on or sell sign come on and sell Damian Williams, because they're going to be using a lot of Herbert, and Justin Fields at quarterback has destroyed this passing game. Yeah. Hopefully you came out better than my feelings with Saquon Barkley, and Chris's too. Came out better for not facing a ton of injuries in your team. But, hey, we have waivers tomorrow, 11 a.m. as always with Lauren, and we'll be back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. for the rankings debate with Jeff Ratcliffe, at Chris Meaney, at the FTN Network. Or actually, I guess that's redundant. At FT Network? FTN?
Yes.
Or is it FTN Network? I don't know. Go use code ALLIN and get 20% off, and go to theathletic.com /BetsTV, all capitals, and get a first free month. A lot of free stuff and discounts for you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.